Hello Sentinels, and this is episode 44, and today I'm going to be talking about something that John Lennon said, which is what he mentioned, the fact that reality leaves a lot to the imagination, and that's quite true. Now in this particular case that's pertinent. Why? Well, because I think that as life happens to you, the things happen you sometimes don't have any control over. What you do control is the reaction and how you actually see that. And your imagination is part of that. So when people say, there's one that's another quote that's attributed to John Lennon, which actually isn't from him, which is about happiness and his mum asking him what he should try and be when he grows up, which is basically he should try and be happy. But the thing is if you're talking about life in general, everything that comes at you, there's nothing you can necessarily do about that. It's not necessarily in your control. It happens to you in some circumstances. Sometimes that can be really bad. But if you're staying in that place and it's really negative or not doing you any good, that's your decision. So when people say that happiness is something that they are trying to attain somewhere in the future, I disagree. Use your imagination and create it now. And then happiness is something that you can experience every day, in every moment, in every second, if you wish to, based on what is happening in your life. Find the happiness in the small things, and then the whole of it will become a happier place. That's how I think that happiness works. And I don't think it's something you need to wait for, whether it's a promotion, a person, getting married, whatever it happens to be. I think that it's something that everybody can have and achieve. And it's just not the big Hollywood stuff. It's the normal, mundane, day-to-day stuff, the miracles, the small ones, the small things that you see, do, and hear other people maybe hear other people say during your day. And I think that is happiness. And I think that requires a certain amount of imagination. And as Mr. John Lennon said, yeah, it does require that. It leaves a lot to your imagination, so you can make a difference. And this has got to do with this here, and something that perhaps would maybe call a soul. So I think that is what you need to do. If you do have ADHD, it's helpful to you in that sense, because it means that basically what you've been given, which is a particular disorder, you can't do anything about that. It's something you can't get rid of. There's 2/3 of the people that have ADHD when they're younger. They're going to have it when they're older, when they're adults as well. But you can change how you deal with it on a day-to-day basis, and how all those interruptions and all that noise that you get in your head that you perhaps can't get rid of or can't ignore all the time, maybe see the beautiful things in that. So for example, many years ago I used to work on oil rigs. It was a terrible night. We had been working all night. My clothes had literally frozen to my body. That's how wet and cold I was. And I was looking down at the rig floor, and in a puddle there was a beautiful picture, because basically some diesel had run into a puddle on the floor of the rig. And it was absolutely amazing. Kaleidoscope of colours. And I thought in that moment, that is quite amazing. And that's the type of thing I'm talking about. To see those things. I probably wouldn't have seen it otherwise. It just happened to be one of my distractions that happened to float into my consciousness, because I can't ignore stuff like that all the time, especially if I have not been meditating or exercising. So in that moment I saw something and I perhaps wouldn't have seen it otherwise. Another example of that was a few weeks ago. I was looking, sat on a park bench, looking out over the park, and I saw a tiny lizard wander across my view, which I wouldn't have seen probably if I'd been, in quotes, a normal person, because I can't ignore shit like that. It just is, it's a raw response. I pick it up and it goes straight to my brain, and some of it is really nice, and that made my day. It was a beautiful thing to see, and I wouldn't have seen it otherwise, and I wouldn't have seen that if I didn't have ADHD. So with that, that's me done for the evening. As always, have a plan, be fun, foster wisdom wherever you see it, and have a good morning, a good afternoon, or a good night. And I'll see you again tomorrow. And it will be episode number 45, and I'm going to do a bit of a review of the different things that I've been talking about over the last 44 days, and just maybe pack them together in some sort of summary, if you'd like to call it that. So maybe it'll be a bit longer than it usually is, which is these really short packages, and that is for my benefit, so that I make sure that I actually do the damn things, and for your benefit, because then it's short, sweet, and immediate, and it has some sort of punch to it. With that, have a good evening. Cheers. See you later.